Ideal Matriculation Higher Secondary School. Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to see the topic Part 1 English Supplementary Reader Owlie. Mom, Payal yelled in panic. Owlie's gone. Where would she have gone? Payal's, her mother said crossly. She was right there, sleeping in her cage a little while ago. But she is not there now. And Mom, the door to the garden is open. That got Payal's mother running into the room. Sure enough, there was no sign of Owlie. In this passage, the author says, Payal, a girl, and her mother lived in their own house. Suddenly, she shouted with fear and told mother that Owlie was not there. Her mother asked her doctor, where should we have gone there? Payal replied that she was only in the cage, but she was not there now. Her mother saw that the door to the garden was open. She assumed that the owl was not there. What was an owl doing in a house, you ask? Well, Payal's house was home to all kinds of creatures, mainly abandoned animals. People brought lost dogs, injured cats, and baby birds that had fallen out of their cages to Payal's mother. It wasn't that they had a large farm or even a large house. It's just that everyone knew that the Payal's mom had a big heart, but even in the household used to such unexpected visitors, Owlie's advent had been memorable. Shefali Didi had just turned up one day carrying a cartoon. In this passage, the author says, we had a question that what the owl was doing in the house. Payal's house was the home of all kinds of animals. People brought lost dogs, injured cats, and baby birds to her house. Payal's mother created a large farm for those creatures. Everyone said that he had a big heart. Owlie's advent had been memorable one. One day, Shefali Didi was carrying an inexpensive box to her house. Next passage. When Payal's mother opened the cartoon, there was the smallest of owls sitting in one corner, a small ball of brown and grey. Payal's mother picked her up gently and placed her in her lap and talking to her just as she would to the dogs. She had never handled owls before, so she was very careful not to get packed. When the owl got used to her and seemed relaxed enough, Payal's mother placed her inside a cage. There were always empty cages in Payal's house. Just in case a bird dropped in, the baby owl climbed on the rod and settled herself. In this passage, the author says, when Payal's mother opened the box, she saw a small brown and grey color owlie sitting in the corner. She picked her gently and placed her in lap and talking to her as she would talk to dogs. She never handled Owlie before. She took Owlie to the cage and locked it. A baby owl climbed on the rod and settled herself. Next passage. Mom, what shall we call her? Asked Payal, all excited. You choose a name, said her mother, smiling. How about Owlie? Asked Payal. So Owlie it was. The name was settled, but there was a bigger problem. What does one feed an owl? Owls are hunters. They eat rats, snakes, and frogs. And in Payal's house, they were all vegetarian, even the dogs. Payal's mother was totally anti-meat, but now that Owl had become to stay. She had to get over her dislike for it. In this passage, the author says, Payal asked mom how we call a small bird. She decided to call by name. Finally, they chose Owlie is the name of a small bird. But the biggest problem is they didn't know what the food was given to the owl. Owls are usually hunters. They eat rats, snakes, and frogs. But Payal and her mother was vegetarian. Even the dogs lived in their house was vegetarian too. But they decided to change themselves for the new visitor, Owlie. Next passage. There was another reason why that day was memorable. It was the first day that meat was brought to the house. Payal got the number from her friend and called the meat shop to ask them to deliver half a kilogram of minced meat to the house. They put the meat before Owlie. In this passage, the author says, it was a memorable day because it was the first day that the meat was brought to the house. Payal got the meat shop contact number from her friend and ordered half a kilogram of pieced meat to the house. They served the meat to the Owlie. Next passage. Of course, Owlie didn't know what to do with it. She was just a baby after all. If the mother owl had been there, she would have softened the meat and shoved it down Owlie's throat. Payal's mother decided she had to be mother owl. She picked up a tiny bit of meat with her right hand and squished it up until it was soft. Then, with her left hand, she pressed open Owlie's beak and shoved the food down. In a second, Owlie fell off her perch onto the floor of a cage. She lay on her back on the floor of the cage with feet up in the air. In this passage, the author conveys, Owlie didn't know how to eat the meat. Owlie didn't have her own mother. If Owlie's mother is there, she will be soften the food and feed her. But she is not there now. So Payal's mother decided to be a mother of owl. She took a small piece of meat and make it soften in her right hand. After that, using her left hand to open its beak and feed on her. When she ate the meat, she started flying happily in the cage. Thank you for watching, students. See you tomorrow. Thank you.